I feel so dirty talking about it.
But you have to.
This gets into the X-rated conversation.
It doesn't matter. It's going to come out here or it's going to come out at the track when you pull up. Let's just...
We're live for episode
Number one
of Deep Stage Podcast. A very unique podcast that we've kind of created, talking about going deeper into the life of a racer, how we got where we are, and the things that kind of brought us all together. No matter what car we drive, no matter what we do, but we all have this passion of racing our cars. And we all have a completely different story of where we've come from, things that have brought us to this. And I'm super excited to share these stories because it is very unique about all of our back history, all of our lifestyles, and things that ultimately give us that addiction and adrenaline and need for speed, right?
Right, man. What it pulls us all together at the end of the day.
So we got episode 1, and this is it. The introduction to everybody that is involved with this. I am your host, and Jay Curry right here is going to be our co-host. Some of you may know me from the shop, Baily's High Performance, and some of you are just now getting to know who Zilla 1320 is, Jay Curry. And that is all thankful to our director that has behind the scenes here, which is going to be Tori.
Dude,
she has taken over your media.
Yes.
And also did not know she was stumbling on directing a podcast.
She just did.
So without this, this would not be possible without Tori's help. So we're super excited to have her on board by doing
Very
this.
much so, man. Super big help. So thanks.
I don't know how to push the buttons or anything. I can turn wrenches, but I can't push the buttons. You know.
Luckily, you can turn wrenches.
Yeah, all this because we would just be talking into dead space right now.
Yes,
we would. Like, yo, dude, we just wasted 2 hours.
2 hours
recording nothing.
Or thinking we're recording.
Yeah, thinking we were recording, having a good old time.
Right, kind of like last night.
So yeah,
that's all I'll say about that.
So Jay Curry owns.
Yeah, Texas Star Land Works. Yeah. So that's a company I created after COVID. Which was actually pretty cool. I had another software company that I had sold, and actually kind of that sell petered out with COVID, and so it kind of destroyed the software / recruiting company that I had. So I got real bored with corporate America and found out a bunch of things about people that I really respected that just came out during COVID, because we were all kind of right back to our roots. And I always had kind of an affinity to, making big spaces and, land look really cool. So we dove into building custom rural water features, lakes, ponds, things like that. And it all started on my own property. On a skid steer by myself, for 10 hours a day for like 5 days a week. And we were just talking about how we get in, cars, and we start to think that's how that business was created. And here we are, 4 or 5 years later.
Nice. So you do all the ponds with the fountains and everything?
Yeah, everything like that, man. So they're actually really cool. And we get to do about 20 to 25 projects a year.
Tell me about this software.
Yeah, that was Talent Robot. That was a fun gig. So we did everything. We tried to automate as much as we could for recruiters, and the theory was we could put together some natural language processing technology, some artificial intelligence, and sentiment analysis to make the interview process a little bit easier for hiring managers to understand, recruiters to understand, that we could have a more data-driven approach on selecting people that work in a company.
So you've been doing ponds and fountains for 4 years now.
Yeah, 4 or 5 years. Yeah, 4 or 5 years. And currently just got an offer to be the chief revenue officer for a company called BOMO, which was the company that actually bought my old company by acquisition. And so here we are back to full circle. Right. So I've got a lot to think about this week. As you know, so it's back into the AI space. Not so much recruiting, but AI assistance.
I don't know about AI.
I don't either. So I got to get in it, right? That's what we do.
AI is crazy.
It's way crazy.
I do a lot of stuff with ChatGPT now, and then I've asked AI to like create logos and artwork and designs, which is crazy.
It's crazy,
it does
dude.
really good.
It's crazy.
And then it makes me sound smarter than I really am.
You're pretty smart, though.
Yeah, maybe in the world of turning bolts.
Hey, man,
right?
I think it's all relative.
Yeah.
But that's kind of my journey so far. I'm an entrepreneur at heart, so I'm a business guy, and that's what drives me.
Yeah. And you're a family man, too.
Yes. Family man, believer.
Yeah.
I identify with, how Jesus Christ died on the cross for us.
That's awesome.
That's my belief, my family's belief, and that's what, at our core, that's where we start. Nice. And I think from there, you can call me a husband, you can call me a father, then you can call me a businessman, then you can probably call me a race car driver, a hunter, and then a pilot. And I think that's it.
And a pilot?
Yeah.
What do you mean you think that's it? You've hit every manhood of spectrum
you
wanted. You want to hunt, fly planes, you got a family, believe in God?
Yeah.
You got your own land?
It's all of those things. But here's the thing, that like the big turn, and I like to share this part of my life, is I spent like 15 years being a really bad drug addict and alcoholic. So, yeah. So a lot of things for me, when I survived that, and when I say survived, like by the hair of my chinny chin chin,
which isn't much.
It's not
like
much.
This one here, right?
But when I survived that, I had a new zest for life, right? So it was easy for me to come out and go, all of the things that I couldn't do because I was either drunk or high or something like that, I want to start doing. And that's kind of what led me into these passions and back in here with race cars.
So does racing give you that adrenaline fix?
Yes, very much so.
Very common. It's a constant drive for trying to get that next rush of adrenaline.
It's true. And so does business.
Yeah. 100%. I can agree with that.
Yeah.
I used to race motorcycles. I used to ride motorcycles all the time.
You got married then?
Yeah, got married and kids. Yeah. And the other day we were talking. It's like, man, it'd be really nice if I could get just another little cruiser, right? And go out, play, have fun, just de-stress.
Right.
She pulls up a picture of my kids. She goes, I said,
Yep. It's not you, but it's the other people around you.
Yeah. And I'm like, man, that's terrible. That's terrible, right?
But it's the truth, right? So you got to pick your battles. I think that's important being a family man, right?
Yep. So doing really good with all of that, being the business part, trying to get that adrenaline rush of racing the bikes and doing all the crazy things that I used to do with that.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm close. 7 seconds in the demon. I think I'm close.
That's freaking pretty close,
man. That 7.7 I did was, I got out and I was like, yeah, that's
pretty close.
That was fast. Like, I want to push the edge to where I'm like borderline out of control, in control. And then when it comes to a stop, it's like, man, I don't think I remember how I did all that.
So I like that you said that. And the reason why is because I equate that similarly, right? Is I want to get to the point where I don't quite know what's happening, and I want to go back and investigate what happened, and I want to do it again.
Yeah. Because it took like several days for me to process what happened.
Right.
When I went like 7.7 and all things went crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, man, I got to get back out there again, like fast. So
and but you're waiting for good air, though.
Yeah,
right?
I'm waiting for good air. So, but it's been good. It's been an exciting thing to do as far as business and trying to get that adrenaline rush.
Well, cool. Why don't you tell us a little bit about you, man? What makes you up? What makes Chris Baily?
So Monday we actually celebrate 17 years of being in business.
Whoa, dude, that's a huge
17 years.
That is huge.
Yeah, we opened up in 2007. July 1st, 2007. And that was probably the worst time ever to open.
Yeah, I was in recruiting. It was 2008. Everything was falling apart in DFW.
Yeah, it was terrible.
It was horrible.
Yeah, no, this guy decided to open up a speed shop.
Hey, man.
Yeah.
I opened up a construction company in the middle of COVID, so.
Yeah. Yeah. So 2007, we opened up, quickly realized that people weren't spending money to build cars. So we did oil changes
That's right.
for ramen packets,
That's right.
you know. But my family's always been into racing.
Yeah.
They've been drag racing. My brothers have been into drifting. I picked up the drag racing bug from all my uncles. So it was kind of natural, but the survival of the fittest, right? You had to make that choice of do you want to live the dream of building cars, or do you want to stay in business and hold out for what your dream actually was?
Yeah.
Right. So as a business, you kind of had to make those choices of changing and pivoting where the dream was to survival mode, making it through that. And then once we got through to probably 2010, it was how do we start transitioning back into our dream,
So,
back into doing what we want to do.
you know how often people lose sight of the dream? I mean, I've been in the business of humans for a long time, right? I've moved humans from one software company to another, and that's how I made my living. And a lot of people get messed up, and they're focused on what's the next thing in front of them.
Yep.
So to say that you refocused and got back onto your dream, that's huge.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people make it.
It was tough because there's a lot of times where I slept on the shop floor, showered in the sink, did what I could.
That's right.
Made ramen when I could.
Different flavors.
Yeah, different flavors. I could make ramen in a bunch of different ways, just to make it through,
Right.
But then when it started to shift, we were like, yeah, okay.
You had something. You felt it.
Yeah.
Was it a gut feeling?
Honestly, the whole business model has been a lot of gut instinct. I write a lot of the processes out on paper.
Yeah.
Late nights staying up, writing it on paper, getting stuff out of your head kind of thing. But the gut shifts in economy, business, spending, moves, hiring, firing, buying this equipment, all that has been a lot of gut. Write it down, weigh it out, make the move.
Yeah, so that's a really good process. A lot of, and I have the pleasure of talking to folks that start businesses, man.
Yeah.
So I keep my circle around that area, and a lot of folks they mess up in that first time because they don't really wait on it. It's an instinctive move, right?
Yep.
And I can say on my first one, that's what destroyed it. My first startup, I lost a lot of money, and I lost the startup.
Yeah.
It just wasn't worth it, right? So the idea that you were mature enough to say, hey, I need to write this down, I need to look at it, and I need to weigh the differences, that says a lot about your character.
Yeah, it was tough. But now it's reaping the rewards, right? But it's a whole different aspect of things. So to say that I'm comfortable in the business model, I don't think anybody can ever be comfortable in that, right?
No, if you're comfortable, you're not doing things right.
Because now you have to always change or be prepared for the moves, right?
Yeah.
Every day's a challenge and thrown at you. So I don't know if you're like this, but do you ever worry about if you're going to get a phone call for your next pond, or is this the last pond that you're doing?
Every day.
Right?
Every day. I get worried if I don't book out a year in advance.
Okay. So same, right?
Right.
And I'm like, so I'm always asking where we booked out. She goes, 10, 12 weeks. Okay.
Oh, Lord, I need to get on the phone.
So, yeah, and I'm like, man, we got to do, okay, we're good there, but we got to keep going, right?
Right. Yeah.
So it's definitely a different ball game because it started out me, my brothers, and then me, and then now we got to hire people and then learning how to deal with different personalities.
Right.
And then adjusting the business from there and adjusting and learning because I went to school. I did a lot of that, but I dropped out of college for that.
Yeah. It's boring.
Because none of that stuff was...
It didn't really apply.
I slept through a lot of college. I did.
It's a lot. It's an expensive nap,
Yeah,
dude.
because I worked. I sold. So before that, right? We opened in 2007. I worked for Bose. I sold home audio. Okay, and was going to school and was tinkering with cars, trying to start that out of my
You're in
mom's
your
garage,
20s, right?
right? 18, 19, 20. Yeah. So I'm juggling all these. So my only time to really sleep was in college that I was paying for. Right? So at some point you're like, this just doesn't make sense.
Right.
I'm paying to sleep.
And you just got to make the decision to pull out.
Yeah.
Because you're a Gen Xer like I am, right?
Yeah.
So we were instilled that you have to go to college.
Yep.
And you probably felt obligated to go to sleep in college.
Oh yeah.
That me too.
Yeah. It was just like you guys. They were teaching the corporate business. I'm like, none of that applies to me in the shop and the 10 mil bolt that I want to take out.
Exactly.
Like, I don't understand what we're trying to equate to, right? So some of the business ideas, speaking leadership, all that stuff, I understand that.
Mm-hmm.
And it helped with some of the stuff, the process that I do now. But it didn't help with any of the other things, the other aspects. I don't think they teach you that.
My theory is, empower people more than what they think they can do and support them through that growth phase, because you touch so many aspects of business so quickly in these small businesses, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you see the cash flow models and you're like, you see the ups and the downs and you get to celebrate that. It's kind of a rewarding thing. But at the end of the day, it's just like you said, are we booked out far enough?
Yep.
How does cash flow look?
Yep.
What do we need to do? Well, we still need to get this. We still need to get this.
Yeah, it's a definite balancing act and a whole lot of hats.
Yes, sir.
Right? And that's just work.
That's work.
Then you're a family man. How many kids do you got?
Got 2.
2?
Yep, 7 and 9. So that's Griffin and Sawyer, man. They're incredible kids.
How far apart are they?
Just 2 years.
2 years?
Yeah.
Man, so you know what I'm going through.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're going through.
I'm in the trenches.
Yeah, you are in the trenches. Like, there's the major marriage development that goes on right now,
Man.
and some major, father skills coming up.
I'm in the trenches.
But, dude, I've seen you, and you're good.
Yeah. So it's like, so it's balancing work and then going home and balancing life for your kids and for your wife. The whole family aspect is a whole nother division, but turning the switch on and off is always hard.
It really is.
So sometimes when I get home and there's just that one thing that's like, actually, your car was it. Your car was one that I went home because your car, I took it back. It was when that cooler. And I couldn't figure out why this was. So we had that TX2K pressure.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I don't understand why
your cup was 90% full.
I don't understand it. It's like your car should have been the easiest car to turn around.
Sure.
Just turn it up.
Yeah.
Just, right? Just all we need, just change the pill shot, go in there, do up the injector change.
No turbos.
Easy. Nothing. It was easy.
Mm-hmm.
We had all these other big builds. They went smooth. Yours? So how to turn that off from going there to home was tough. And then trying to sleep and then trying to make the event. So it's tough to balance work, all the hats you got to do at work, and then to come home and all the hats you got to be there, the discipline, the role model, the husband, right?
Yes, all of it.
How do you balance it?
It's tough. A lot of counseling. We are fans of therapy and counseling.
Interesting.
You know
Really?
why? Yeah, dude, there's people way smarter than we are at being parents and being married. So one of my philosophies I learned, getting sober is if I can put folks around me that are, smarter and they've been through some things that I'm wanting to go through, then, I'm going to win that situation because I got those folks to fall back on. Same with marriage. We view it and we look at it and we're like, we got teenagers coming up. So what did we do? Went to our church. We're like, hey, we got teenagers coming up. What kind of counseling you guys have? Because that's a whole different ballgame, right? Yeah. Haven't been through it. I see my brother go through it. It's tough, right?
Yeah.
everything changes at that level. So we go and we seek, that type of counsel.
So you go to the church for
absolutely
guidance.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
We can't cuss in there though. That's the problem.
That's a unique.
It's really hard because Andrea and I both we hustle, right? We own multiple businesses. She runs a big brokerage, and you got a few cuss words that fly around, and I'm sure we'll say a few today.
Yeah.
So when you're in counseling at church, it's a whole different aspect. You got to be really nice.
Yeah.
But it's been cool.
So that's what's helped you with the husband and father aspect of things?
Defining it. So, and redefining it. So I think when we got married and we had kids, there was a couple of redefinition points of what a husband was in my brain, as opposed to what it really meant biblically and what it meant just outside being a good father, right? And being a good husband. So we got schooled pretty early on. Was it was, hey, bud, you're a husband first, because you hear, hey, kids come first. Well, those kids are gonna leave. Yeah. But that marriage is a sacred bond. So we've had a really we had it, just like you guys when we were in the trenches. You start to butt heads because you naturally were both A-type personalities, and that's one of those things you're like, wow, these guys are aggressive when it comes to parenting.
Yeah, she's Mexican.
Exactly. Yeah. So Marlene, right? It's just, I mean, and it's one of those things where we started butting heads and we'd get in some cycles, and then we instantly were like, hey, let's go find somebody that's been through this. And that's how it started. So redefining it, number one, I say, is like, what's my role? My overall role right now on earth is what God put me on earth, is to be Andrea's husband. That's it. What happens after that just happens. It's kind of a weird.
That's pretty awesome. So you prioritize the marriage and then work and then kids, or let's say, and not prioritize, I should say, in emotional, but how about mental capacity?
So that's an interesting topic as well. We just talked about this. So we were talking, and I was like, man, I run at like 90%, right? And so and when I say 90%, you're talking by Fridays, like today. I was talking to you at the store. I was like, man, we should probably do this on a Monday. I'm a little fresher, right? Because by Monday, you've made all these decisions. And you mentioned kind of segmenting them out and turning off certain switches. I mean, what I've learned is to be that same person all the way through. And what that's done for me is it's elevated my marriage above everything else and my relationship with Christ. And then everything else seems to fall in line. The decisions that I make are around those two things. My kids get the best of me. My business gets the best of me. And I just feel like a better person.
Yeah, I can agree with that. So for me, the big turn point in business, or the way that I viewed business, was after I had kids. Because you don't realize, and you always had everybody say it all the time, oh, the life-changing point was kids, right? So you always hear that once you have kids, and you can never explain it to anybody. And that's a true statement. Once you have kids, you can never explain what happens at that point when you're holding that child. So for me, the outlook of business changed, and I would say that it probably did more, better, because now I had this mouth that I had to feed and a wife to take care of. But then I'm like, a lot of my guys have kids. So, and it never clicked. It never really, it was like, oh, okay, yeah, you got kids. That's great. No, after that, it was like, dang, not only do I have my mouths, I have my employees' mouth, and then their kids' mouths rely on my decisions.
So question, when you first started hiring people, how scary was that?
Scary.
Yeah, because you're like, I think I'm going to fail.
Yep.
And you've got somebody else depending on you, so it's like a family growing.
Yep. Initially, the people that I would hire was the younger that, if it failed, okay.
Yeah.
the next jump was older and older and older.
Maturity.
Your quality of work and your workspace and everything gets better and better, right? By the older that I hired guys, right? Not just fresh out of high school, anything like that. So it was a big change, big scare.
Yep.
My first one was scary. Now we have 7. So like, and I don't even ask Marlene what payroll is. I just, but again, where's that gut, right? It's that gut feeling of, okay, our wait list is long. All these guys are busy. Do we bring on another body and have
Do we take it to the next level?
Right? But so many things come in. Is the economy sustainable enough right now? What we do, you and me.
Yep.
It's disposable income.
Disposable income.
Right? Nobody needs a pond in their front yard.
Nobody needs a 1,400 horsepower Hellcat.
And nobody needs it. Right. But we want it.
That's right.
So the guys who can afford to do that stuff is disposable income. So, in 2007, no one wanted to do performance upgrades. 2008, 2009, because
they were trying to find a job.
Gas was $5-6.
Yeah.
They were trying to find a job. They were trying to do this. So everybody was like, especially a new shop that didn't have experience, years.
In DFW.
I'm 20 years old. Who's going to trust me?
Talk about that car scene. Like, that's a good point. So you're in a city, a metro area with some pretty rich history of some incredible shops.
Yeah.
You're 20 years old. You step on the scene. What's going on in your head?
Man, I bit off way too much, right? So the first thing that I did, we opened up the first car that I had that inspired the shop.
Right.
Was a 2004 Nissan Sentra SER Spec V.
Spec V.
Yep. They called it the baby GTR, right? Yeah. So I was like diehard Nissan enthusiast, and still to this day. Like, if I could find a 510 or a hard body, I would totally drive that to work all day
long. Hear that,
long.
Dan Rue?
All day long, right? Like, hardcore. My brother had a 240. He put a RB swap in it, all kinds of stuff.
I got a confession.
Yeah.
I had a 300Z.
You did?
Yeah.
Twin turbo?
No.
No? Just the
3-liter.
That's fine. But the twin turbo one, I would never touch at. And look, that was like the redheaded stepchild of the Nissan. Because if you dropped a 10 mil in there, you were never getting it.
Oh, no. It was packed.
Never. You couldn't even see the floor from
No, you could not.
So people will call, I got a 300. Done. I don't know what happened. I have line disconnected. Sorry. I don't know what it was. But yeah, that was it. So in that economy, first off, the people who are owning Spec Vs that want to do stuff to their car, yeah, their money just went out the window.
Yeah.
Okay. That's not going to happen. So then you have to figure out the oil change was a transition of trying to discover, right?
Yeah. Well, you're creating a customer base, right?
Creating that, building it in. Then it turned in from V8s to V8 swaps in Nissans, 240s, 350Zs, stuff like that.
Okay. Still popular, right?
Infinities. Yep. So now we took that step into disposable income a little. They still got an import. Still can be V8 stuff getting in there.
Yeah.
And then just grinding and trying to work our way up. Then we'd go to the track with the V8 swapped 350Zs.
Which track?
North Star.
Oh, dude, up in Sanger, yeah.
Yeah, in Sanger. So we would go to the track with those and we'd beat them. Or we'd go hit the streets with it and we'd beat these F-body Camaros.
And they're like, what happened?
Yeah, they're like, well, I just got beat by a rice cooker. And they're like, yeah, dude, here's my card if you want me to fix it. He goes, but that's an import. And I said, but it's powered by a Chevy.
Yeah, that's right. It's LS, baby.
Yep. So then we got into there and started working our way up that food chain, and then ultimately got to where we fit best, which was working on the Dodges. And that mainly was a thing because there on every corner you can find an LS shop.
Yes.
There's plenty of people that can work on it.
I have a saying, if something breaks on an LS, you can stop at 7-Eleven and fix it.
That's it. You can get everything.
That's right.
So you had all these guys competing for a penny.
Sure.
And I don't want to do that, right? I don't want to compete for the penny. I don't want to any of that. So looked at the Ford market. That just wasn't going to happen. You know,
Wait.
No fault to the Ford guys, but
Right. Okay.
you know, I didn't want the Ford guys.
It's a slippery road.
Yeah, to go down there and crowds and stuff like that.
Right.
But, you know, so I didn't want to go down that road. We got really good at Dodges because nobody was touching them.
Right.
So
wait, but at this time, what was Dodge doing?
Oh man, this was the terrible cars.
Right.
Nobody wanted them.
But we were on the verge of what, 2015?
Yeah, so 2015. So I was doing 2010, 2012 Dodges, and that's when like the WK1 Jeep came out, that SRT8 Jeep Grand Cherokee.
Yep.
And that was like, that was a game changer.
Because they had been doing stuff like that already. The Durango with the 360 in it.
Yep.
And guys had already been seeing some potential there.
Yep. So then you had like the battle of the all-wheel drives, the Trailblazer SS, and then...
What about the Conquest?
Yeah.
Dude, that
those
car...
were freaking awesome cars.
Forced to be reckoned with.
Yep.
And what's his name on Street Outlaws? Still racing Rankin. Still has a Conquest.
Does he?
Yeah, with a Hemi swap.
I don't keep up with Street Outlaws. Couldn't tell you. I couldn't tell you.
You don't have time.
I know. I know. I never kept up with it. So, but when we started getting in those Dodges and getting them in, working on them, doing that, then opportunities with manufacturers opened up.
What's that mean?
Magnuson would reach out and say, hey, we have a blower that we want to put on these Grand Cherokees, 2014s. We don't have tuning sorted. Is this something you want to figure out? Can you do? Yada, yada.
Right.
So that opened up opportunities for that to go in, and then it just paved the way for Dodge. Now the scary part was in an aspect of business, when do you start cutting things off
that have paved the way,
anchoring you? Yeah, that are anchoring you down.
I had a similar story in my business, but we'll go over that. I want to make a point here. The point was, we started with, let's say you brought in a manufacturer, Maggie. You started bolting on some stuff. In 2015, something special happened.
The Hellcat.
That's right.
Changed the game.
So how did you transition from putting a Maggie on a stand-up 360 or 318 to a 6.2 liter that had just blown the doors off everything in production?
It was crazy. I remember our first Hellcat that we did.
I mean, so did you rip it apart? Tell me your first one.
Yeah. So the first Hellcat that we did was a pulley change. Upper, lower, few things. It was a manual Hellcat. And even bone stock, it was the fastest thing that I felt. I was like, yo, this is stock. Like, you want to go faster. This is crazy. So the relationships that I built with a lot of companies and Magnuson and all those. So there's a company called ZPE that makes pulleys for superchargers, right? So, you know, you can call those guys up and be like, hey, we got this. And they're like, well, we're going to come on. We're going to help you. We're going to figure this out. And let's see some of the things that we can do. So they'll send out parts, test it, report back, things like that. So,
question. So did you buy a Hellcat or did you have a shop Hellcat?
No, it was a customer's. It was a customer's. Yeah.
So this customer was like, hey, I've got a Hellcat.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to just test some stuff on it.
Yeah. Yeah. Some of them were crazy. And
they still exist, obviously.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they were like, have you done anything? I'm like, nope. Yeah. And I checked. I had like all of the questionable check marks that you could put on a shop. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was me. Have you ever done one? Nope. Do you know anything about it? Nope. Nothing.
Just
I have a 6.4 and a 5.7 in the shop, but I don't have a Hellcat in there. Yeah. Okay. Do you know how to pull the blower off? Nope. No. Okay. Well, I know how to turn wrenches. They either tighten or they loosen.
Yeah.
So,
what's righty tighty lefty?
Yeah. I mean, they're all the same, right? So, but we'll try it out.
Right.
So, a lot of it was just putting your money where your mouth is and reassuring the customers that, look, if something goes wrong or we do this, I can cover the cost of making this right.
Right.
Okay. And then it just forces me, because now it's on my pocket.
Yeah.
So it just forces me to be extra careful.
Right.
And approach it slowly.
Right.
So, and that still stays true today.
Yeah.
There's obviously we're pushing limits on these things
Yeah.
and going really, really fast.
Yeah.
I'm fortunate enough to where I can afford to do it on my own car now. I don't need somebody else's car, right?
You may need a couple cars.
Yeah, maybe so. So we'll explore that,
right.
But
one breaks, the other one, you got another
you're
guy.
like, I got to bring your car back because this one broke, and that's the same thing that's on there. So let me make some changes.
Right.
Quick.
That's how we share, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And we're down for that.
And so that's the purpose of our car now, is to be faster and faster and faster.
Right.
So it's exciting. It really is exciting stuff to do. But the change or the transition into that, right? Because now you got 15, 16, 17, 18. I've started dropping off all these other manufacturers.
Right.
So it got to the point where...
So what were your import guys doing? Hey, you got an LS swap over here. I need some tuning. And you're like, I don't know who you are anymore.
I can't. I just didn't have the manpower.
Did you have a referral?
No. I just said
cold left the LS
I just
world.
Said we can't do them anymore.
Hmm.
Because it's tough, right? So that's the transition. So is there a certain dollar amount that you don't take on or what is your cutoff in doing a pond that you just can't, like, I can't do this, but I can send you to somebody else who's really efficient at smaller ponds?
So that's a really good question.
Okay.
I'm going to back up. So similar story.
Mm-hmm.
Our company started in land clearing. Okay. So a lot like your universe there, right? That's oil changes. And I wasn't going to hustle for the penny. So we got in, we bought some equipment. We did what we were supposed to through this land clearing journey. And we dug our first pond. And once we saw what that took to make it look right and produce, an effect that customer can look at and be happy, because those are things, on your land, we were just kind of addicted at that point. So much like you,
yep,
we had a bunch of equipment that could do kind of both, but we had put a little bit of marketing dollars behind this land clearing thing. And it seemed like every month or two, a new company, a Joe Blow with, a skid steer and a mulcher would come through, right, and cut your prices. And I'm like, this isn't a great place to be, right?
Yep.
So we leaned heavy into the pond. And I think one of the biggest, scariest things that I did is, and I've been a part of 7 different startups and building those, like, with private equity companies, and it doesn't get any scarier. I mean, it just doesn't get any better, is understanding how to market, number one, what to market to, who's your customer, and just having all those gut decisions and going, who's going to write a check, for something that's $200,000 plus, on a consistent basis. And I'm dealing with a small population. So that's what influenced our marketing. And then we put mega bucks behind the marketing. And that was where our investment came from on this one, is we put 180 G's and we just said, we're going.
Wow.
And so, yeah, we got into rural water features. We got into, ranches with exotics. These are mega ranches, right?
So what do you do if you get a phone call for mulch or for land clearing?
I got a guy.
Got a guy.
Yeah.
So same thing. I got a guy, send you to, so that's what we did. Okay. So was your decision in doing that, what affected that decision? Was it the amount of employees, equipment cost? How did you come to that conclusion of you're just going to, besides battling for the pennies, right? How did you come to that decision of we're going to make this cut? We're not going to do that.
The finished product.
Okay.
It was visually pleasing, and I knew that I can paint a picture.
Yeah.
I can convey that.
Nice. So that was the
finished
change.
Product. Yeah.
See, me, it was more of I could have 15 guys working and all of these things going on, and it was just too much, right? So, changing the mind from a GM to a Dodge to an LS swap to things like that, and having to change the approach, right? How do you teach a guy to do this, and then to go work on a Dodge, and then to go work on a GM? And
so you carried the same guys through this change? Like,
some of them are still there with me. I do. Some of those guys have been there with for over 6 years. So, it's you can train all these people to do these things and to be multifaceted in all these cars, right? But they will never perfect it.
No.
So the change was, truthfully, an expense, right? You can't afford to have 14, 15 guys that are affluent in everything and make money.
Right.
So I cut the GM off, which people thought we were crazy, to get rid of GM's a
your GM shop. You're not,
brand, right?
And DFW, it's an extremely popular.
You've got
brand.
the Camaro, you've got all the Cadillac stuff, you've got the trucks, you've got everything there. So you were cutting off a huge brand of cars that was guaranteed money.
Right. Well, and it wasn't going anywhere anytime soon.
No. And so we just decided to cut it off and went full on Dodge, and we've never looked back. Right?
Yeah.
So it's been great. It's been an awesome thing to do, and a scary thing. So some people would get scared and not want to do that. So knowing what I know about what it takes to manage all of those brands and how to get people to be fluent in all of those brands, shops that say they're the best at all of them, really.
Yeah, I avoid those.
They're really scary.
I know.
Right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, as a consumer, I would be one of your target customers. As a consumer, like I don't really look for shops that can do everything. So if I have a GM problem, what did I called you, right? You said, hey, you got to talk to Rasha Bush-Detrick.
Yep.
Cool.
Yep.
I'm not taking it to O'Reilly's or Pep Boys or something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, nothing on those guys, but like I'm a different person, right? I want to know. I got questions, and those guys might not want to answer questions.
Yeah.
So I have to pay up sometimes to get my questions answered.
Yeah, because I could tell you everything about a Dodge in my sleep.
Yeah.
I could look at a box of bolts and know exactly where each one goes.
But if we pop the hood of the Blackwing out there,
I couldn't tell you anything.
Yeah. It's a supercharger.
Yeah. It's like, I could tell you went to the wrong dealership,
That's Soul Caddy in Dallas.
That's not a Hellcat. What are you doing with this? Where's your brand loyalty here?
Yeah,
What's going on?
And we're rolling right into the question of brand loyalty. It's pretty early to break this topic. So yeah, I think we do talk about some brand loyalty. So
do you have? Hang on. That's okay. Go ahead.
Yeah. So we're arguably in the Mopar game, right?
Yep.
Me, as I've bought into the high performance side of it. Been like that for a long while, right? I think the platforms have changed a little bit when it comes to trucks.
Yep.
When it comes to cruise cars. You would know a little bit more about the minivan world.
I love it. That's my favorite car.
I know it is. That's why I brought it up.
That's my favorite, man.
But I mean, I think we may need to talk about. I think we both had the same truck, didn't we?
Yeah.
What was it?
I had a Ram Mega Cab 3500 in a Laramie.
It's just a sweet truck, right?
Yeah. Big screen, decked out, rear air, all that. I mean, it was minus the seats. It was just a hair shy of a limited,
Yeah.
And you had the limited.
Which isn't much more, right?
No. And it was a nice truck.
It was a really nice truck with a 6-speed.
That's the thorn in that truck side.
It really is. 1 gear per cylinder.
Terrible.
Oh, that's not how it works, though, right?
No.
Oh, damn.
No, because then I would have a V10 right now.
Yeah, that's true.
And I definitely don't have that.
They made them, though.
Yes.
The Triton.
Yeah. Gas.
I know.
That's gas. That ain't gonna do nothing. Did you know they make gas 3500s?
Yeah, sure. The 6.2 liter.
I saw a gas 3500 not too long ago, and I was like, wow.
People are dedicated. The Godzilla on Ford, 7.3.
I didn't know.
Yeah.
See, that's why I'm not an expert in Ford, because I don't know all the Ford stuff.
But we've recently become somewhat of an expert in Ford. So you want to tell us about that?
No, I feel so dirty talking about it.
But you have to.
This gets into the X-rated conversation.
It doesn't matter. It's going to come out here or it's going to come out at the track when you pull up. Let's just...
I got rid of the 3500. I got rid of my Ram 3500 and I bought a 450.
A faux 50?
Faux 50.
Okay.
And I did, so I felt really bad going in the dealership. I felt so bad going in the dealership. Like I didn't even tell my guys that, hey, I got to go. No, I'm not going to.
I'm going to the dentist.
Yeah, going where? No, I was like, I felt so dirty going into that. But I drove it and I was like, yo, this is life changing. Mm-hmm. It's good.
It is, man.
But they're so far, Ram is so far behind after being in that 450 and driving it around. They were so far behind.
I agree. I agree. I bought one.
You made the change too.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
And I think you took part in that.
So the 450, when I first got it, the first thing I do is go hook it up to the race trailer.
Well, of course. No, that's why you buy it, right? So it's a tow pig.
Yep. And I wanted to see how it would do to pull it. Mm-hmm. So, it's awesome.
So wait, it's the HO, right?
HO. Mm. Yep. HO.
500 big ones.
Yeah. 1,200 foot-pounds of torque.
Emissions intact.
Yeah. It just straight disrespected that trailer.
It does.
It did really good. And it was awesome. So I like how it pulled that so much better because I got to carry all this stuff out for everybody's events, right? So I got the golf cart. I got the big toolbox. I got the race car in it. Or I'm carrying somebody else's race car, something as heavy as a Trackhawk and things like that. So it was really nice. It was really nice for that thing to pull the way that it did. And it's got a big, giant tank.
I had the 52 gallon on my Ram.
Oh, yeah.
The Titan.
I didn't have that.
It's convenient, but it's a pain in the ass when you're like, 250. What?
On fuel? Yeah, the cost, yeah.
But, talking to a guy that buys a lot of diesel, right, with our company, but I was pleasantly surprised. I was honestly, I thought I would be disappointed in the way that the 10-speed worked with, like, the engine brake.
Yeah.
But the way that a computer system, the way the engine brake, the way the motor and the 10-speed work together is worth the switch for sure.
So, obviously, in the truck, I would say that our brand loyalty probably wasn't there.
Yeah, it's gone.
But what is it like on the Hellcat? Have you always been a Dodge fan?
Always.
When it comes to racing?
Yeah, so when it comes to racing, I think no. So I'll back up. Dodge really didn't have a presence, right? It was kind of absent. They went in the 80s with their Charger was a 4-banger turbo.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And they weren't the Dodge brothers, right? We weren't seeing any innovation that was like crazy. We saw the Viper.
Mm. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Cool car. I mean, and nothing I was in love with, right?
Yeah.
But and when I was growing up, I was an LT guy. Yeah.
LT1 OptiSpark.
Yes,
Terrible.
Sir. Yes, sir.
Terrible.
No, they took it out of the vet, put the LS1 in the vet, put the LT1 in a Camaro behind a 6-speed, and I'd toast that vet every single time.
Really?
Yes, sir.
There you go.
Yeah.
So your racing started with GM.
Yeah.
And then the Hellcat came out.
And it wasn't quite legal, right? We were kids. Yeah. I'd say kids, late teenage years, early 20s on a mining road way out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. Okay. So you're doing all that?
Yeah.
And then when did you change to the Hellcat? As soon as you saw the ad on TV?
No, dude. No? I've had a lot of cars, and there's probably a lot of time there. But no, we went. It went from that to Went to another GM product for a while. We went to the Camaro, the new gen Camaro. Yeah. I did. Mm-hmm. And then I started getting into the Dodge is when they changed the body style of the truck. That's kind of when I fell in love with Dodge. And I've had Durangos. I've had, the half-ton 4x4 Dodges when they first came out. The solid front axle is what I liked about them. It was just, it was a beefier truck.
Yep.
But I never really looked into the Hellcat, I would say, until 7 years ago.
Okay.
So, and that's when I started to try to understand a little bit, right? So remember, newly sober guy getting his priorities straight. So I'm like, the Hellcat looks interesting, right? And their brand and their marketing around it was very interesting about who they were trying to appeal to. And it was kind of a club, right?
Yeah.
Outside of the Camaro guys and the Corvette guys. It was kind of this exclusive club. Like, I dare you to go buy 1,000 horsepower.
Yeah. Because the Dodge was like, up until the Hellcat came out, it was like the fat friend, right?
Yeah, SRT8 was like...
And then he goes away, weight loss, gets all jacked, comes back, and then goes over to his GM buddies, and now he's this roided out 707 horsepower beast.
Right.
And everybody's like...
They're like, what happened to you?
Did we just get beat by the Dodge that we all talked crap about? Mm-hmm. Yes, you did.
That Hemi.
Yes, you did.
That Hemi.
So, we just passed a dealership too, right on the way that when we did that pool. So you can go trade your Camaro in.
That's not a Camaro. That's disrespectful, actually. That's a Cadillac. That's a Blackwing. That is a different experience.
That's the classic.
That's a 10-speed classy. Yeah. I will cruise that car, and if so happen I see a C8 somewhere,
But how do you think the Corvette guys feel when you pull up in your Cadillac?
Like I'm their older grandfather, more established. And they were like, man, I made a bad decision here. That car is really big, and it's way faster than mine. So the Vet was an option.
Yeah. But,
I mean, I'm in the trenches, right? So 9 and a 7-year-old and a Vet, which one's going to ride? And then the wife, we've always kind of had this affinity for Cadillacs, right? And I think that was cool.
Well, they're nice cars.
They really are.
They're nice cars. But so why is the Hellcat your choice of race car?
The Hemi.
Strictly the Hemi.
It is. It's not just the Hemi. That's what brought me into it. It was the other things that they built around the Hemi, the Torque Flat 8-speed.
Okay.
Yeah. That's an incredible transmission.
Yes.
The rear ends, the components, not the 15 components, but the 16, 17 red-eye components, when they started going into the red-eye, and then the Demon components, and the box that the Demon came with. Dude, this close to buying a Demon.
Really?
But I didn't. Because I knew I was going to turn it into a race car. So what did I do? Bought a 2015.
But the Hemi is the most expensive platform to do.
Sure. But what do the big guys race?
They're all Hemis.
Straight Hemis.
Yeah, they're all Hemis.
That's right.
Way more expensive than a Camaro to do. So you decided to do that, or to race a Hellcat strictly because of Hemi. That's what everybody does. But when did you start? Did you buy the 15 intentionally knowing you're going to race this car? Or why did you buy the 15? Why did you get that Hellcat?
That 15, I wanted to get back into racing.
Okay.
That was it. I bought that particular car, Zilla, because of a color.
Okay.
And that was one of the colors on a company that I'd started. And we ran with that color. And the reason why I bought that 15, it had 1,200 miles on it. It was, the owner had several cars. He just didn't really like that one that much.
Yeah.
Paid $48 for it.
Yeah.
Put a 100,000 mile warranty on it for $800.
Yeah.
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 Used it for some fuel system upgrades. Yeah.
We'll put some fine print on that.
Yeah. But I mean, and it started there, right? Was like to mod the car.
Yeah.
Because, when you start, it was, I remember the ride back. from Baton Rouge. It was crazy. Like, I was so scared of that car.
They're fast.
But I didn't know what to expect at 70 miles an hour and how it would react to traction, all this other kind of stuff. I think that's where the Hellcat gets a bad rap. Is it's an incredibly powerful and torquey car, and it's instant.
Yeah.
It's not one of these turbo cars like the AMGs or anything like that. That there's a bit of lag, but it'll get around on you really quick. Yeah. So that at that point, the car was enough.
Yeah.
Until it wasn't.
And they put a Pirelli on it.
The Pirelli.
There's 707 horsepower. Throw a Pirelli on it. Yeah. Okay.
Well, I think the philosophy behind that was they're just going to burn them up anyway.
Yes. That they did. Yeah.
And I think that's probably why they went with the Pirellis, and then Nitto started coming out with some pretty good ones. But yeah, I modded the car with the first shop. I won't mention any names, but
when you said you wanted to go racing with it, was it a street racing mentality?
No.
Because this is Street Outlaws time frame, right?
Right. No, and it's street racing. No.
Okay.
Is that stuff exciting? Yes, but it gets commercialized to the point where they're basically buying time and permits to go shoot and race on an open road somewhere. So it's legal. Mm-hmm. Loved that idea. Wasn't willing to try it. So I had some, the track, we'd always gone to the track, my brother and I and some friends, and we were out at Yellow Bellies on Sunday. We were up in North Star on Saturdays. Nice. I mean, this was the things that, we did, and we had this addiction, to like trying to go faster, and we were making pulls in Suburbans and just all kinds of stuff. I blew my motor up. I blew my brother's motor up in his Suburban at North Star.
Oh, jeez. Jeez. So you were probably one of the hour-long cleanups.
It wasn't messy blow up. It was just it's a knocking. And there may be a few 30 packs involved there. So sorry, Josh.
Yeah. But what was the times it was running?
I don't remember, man. 13, 14, 15. It was a full-wheel drive Suburban. It was just to get out there. And actually we bought a 280 Datsun Z, and it might have been you, now that I think about it. Sold it to us. Maybe. But I think my brother traded a laptop for it.
Yeah, definitely not me.
Okay.
I was hungry, but I'm not that hungry.
But our plans would put a stroker motor in it and do all kinds of stuff, and we just couldn't afford it. I wanted to pick back up on that stuff, and so that's why I went with the Hellcat, bought the Hellcat, modded it.
So before the Hellcat, was the fastest quarter mile you've been?
Ooh, trying to think.
Nothing, right?
Nothing really. That kind of topped it.
So the Hellcat came.
It was the pinnacle.
So the Hellcat was the point where it was like.
Yeah, it was my first 200 mile an hour car.
Nice. So you're like, yeah, okay, this is addicting.
Yes.
So what was your best quarter mile time in the Hellcat?
Best so far?
Stock.
Oh, stock? I think we were just under 11.
Because the dealership rate says they'll run some.
No, I raced on Street Outlaws.
You did?
Yeah.
No, you didn't.
I did too.
What?
Yeah. So they do like a locals thing where they were like, hey, bring your car. And then it was super nice guy. What's his name? John. I'll think of it here in a minute. Anyways, they had a couple different cars there, and it was, I didn't have the Pirellis, I had the Nittos on it.
Okay.
And it was true street, bro. It was like 800 horsepower. We had some mods.
Was this at the Motorplex?
Yeah.
Or what was this?
It was at the Motorplex. Yeah.
So you went out there, raced the Hellcat on Street Outlaws.
I did, and I raced the guy's Ferrari, and I was a little nervous, and I may have given it a little bit too much up front.
Did you red light?
I did not. Red light.
Okay. Did you deep stage?
I didn't deep stage.
No,
no. The Nittos broke, and the Ferrari embarrassed me.
Oh, yeah.
And I can't remember that guy's name. Super nice guy, but races the GTR in Street Outlaws. It's him and Jim Howe. Anyways, incredible guy. But it was a funny, right? I was like, so what do I do to try to beat you? He was like, take off in second. And I was like, no, I'm going to screw up my transmission.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was my first real quarter mile on a track like that in a big,
So your first quarter mile in that car was at Street Outlaws. Yeah. How did you land that gig? Did you just register? Or did
I just registered, man.
Really?
Yeah, I don't think enough people like want to get into it, right? Like you just got to dive in.
Yeah. Kind of, it's a scary jump.
It is, but it's not really though. It's a safe environment, right? Yeah. Like a scary jump is going out on a back road and like racing.
Yeah, because there's a lot of things you can hit if you lose it, right? Go off the embankment, stuff like that.
It's not if, it's when.
Yeah. I've gotten really close to the walls, but there's still, I think, a lot of room. Yeah. And I think it's a far safer. So
there's an ambulance there.
There's an ambulance up there. Yeah. Yeah.
That's huge.
So the Demon, the last time the motor let go, caught on fire, hot oil on the exhaust, right? 774. By the time I get out, I pull the fire suppression system, and I get out of the car, and here comes TJ, fire truck, ambulance. I mean, boom, boom, boom. So people were scared. Even in a worst case scenario, those guys were on it.
Right.
Like seconds before I could even process.
It's like they knew you were fixing a wreck.
Yeah. And maybe, I don't know, but
they see enough of it.
Yeah.
Like, he's going to the wall.
And it looked like I went into the wall. Some people thought I did, but we didn't. It was just a whole lot of smoke. Right. But before you could even process or question, like, where is, they were there. Checking. You okay? Everything good? Ambulance looking, checking me out, making sure everything's fine. All the TJ with the fire extinguisher, the fire truck, all that stuff was there, making sure it was good. And then we were off and cleaned up and ready to go. So hopefully people don't have to ever experience that kind of thing, right? But it's very rare. I've been racing for a long time, and until I started going off into this deep end, is when I like those guys a lot more, right? Yeah. That they're there.
Well, it's like your little blanket. It's like if you're walking the tightrope, you want a really good support system under you. And that's what those guys out at the Motorplex are.
Yeah.
They're incredible.
And they're really good.
Yep. So I got a question for you. Why the Demon? And when did you buy
it? So the Demon was a good friend customer's car originally.
Okay.
And I did a lot of the modifications for him, and was out racing it for him on behalf of his organization.
Sounds like a pretty sweet gig.
Yeah. So it was pretty good. It was a pretty good deal, right? So we were building it. We did a bunch of things. He gave me full right to kind of do what I needed to with the car and try to win some money. Sure. So I would win this money and then turn around and donate it to his organization, which was Be Loved on the back of our window, right? So I did all of those race events, won some TX2K, things like that, and gave all that money there. And then eventually it just got to where we were going so fast that I was like, hey, can I just buy this off of you?
What was his response?
Yeah. It was my dollar amount that I was putting into that car was starting to match his initial investment, right, of the car itself.
Yeah.
And so it's like, we both became partners in it, and he's like, just kind of buy me out of it, and here you are. I said, okay, let's do it.
So the Demon represents kind of your body of work on that platform, and pushing the limits.
Yeah. Everybody that said we couldn't do it.
You did it in that car.
That I could personally, my company could not do it.
You did it in that car.
We did it in that car. Yeah.
That's never going to go anywhere, is it?
No. No. I tell Marlene I'll sell that thing in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
She's more attached to things. I can't ever sell it. Right?
You tried to sell it to me last week.
Yeah. I could never sell it, Yeah. So, but now it's such a piece of our brand.
Right.
That
It's the demon.
You almost can't sell it, right?
Right.
So now it's been associated Baily's High Performance. Oh, the demon is here,
The demon.
right? So it's been great. It's awesome. I thoroughly enjoy the car. We've held the number one spot for almost 4 years.
Still on the 08 speed.
Still on the 8-speed. I have a TH400 on the floor,
I'm sure you do.
ready to go.
I know.
But I couldn't. I wanted to push that limit.
Hey, I think there's a division coming.
So, with you, why did you decide you wanted to push faster?
To race, man. So I'm a competitive guy. I mean, I think I'll take it back a little bit further. So I was at PRI in 2022.
Okay.
Starting this project that you and I have kind of been working on.
Mm-hmm.
Doing some researching the dart block that was just released.
Yeah. Yep.
And I was with my cousin, right? And he was, he's an incredible guy and an incredible engine builder. He doesn't mass produce things, right? But he had some connections, and that's where I started. So I'm a recruiter at heart, right? So basically what I did is I made a bunch of connections, and, I brought the guy that was working on the car to PRI. And so we were like, what's the plan for the car? How do we do in-car recordings? How do we do this? And that's kind of where it all started. So I was, we had a plan. That plan changed several times. And then I kind of felt, I think one of the big things is I felt that I was getting out of the guy that was working on the car, out of his comfort zone. But going back to what I said earlier, I like to empower people with more than what they thought they could do, and support them through those times. But clearly, I learned my lesson. You don't do that with cars or airplanes. You have a story about an airplane too.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that plan started, and we'd gotten, I think, the car to like a 9.8. And it was just, we were breaking stuff that we shouldn't have been breaking because I was watching you. And I was like, dude, this guy's on freaking 8-speed pulling wheelies, right? And, I'm like, something's going on, right? Yeah. And at that point, I was like, I need to go talk to this guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you did. You called me up and was like, hey, I'm on the way, by the way. I got my trailer.
You don't have a choice.
My name's Jay. Hope you got a spot for the trailer.
Yep. Car's green.
I'll be there in just a little bit. Okay, bye. All right. Guess we got a car coming up. Yep, I remember that. I remember that day.
It's and you know me, right? So I mean, one of the first things I did was like, I want to know who you are. Want to know who your family is. Yep. All the stuff that goes on in shop's great.
Yeah.
But if I can connect with a human being and another family and support a business at the same time, dude, that's all the feels for me.
Nice.
Like, so, and you and Marlene, like, we got to meet with you guys in Vegas for a little bit and get to find out, we have a similar thought pattern.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what solidified it for this. And then you tour barked the car, and there was a ton wrong with it.
Yeah.
Scary stuff.
Yeah.
And I think for me, I'm really open with my wife about everything. So I opened that file and showed her, and she was a little taken back. Initial reaction was like, nope, no more. This is not worth. Right. And so coming to you guys was a big, important step because there's an investment in safety is where you grow up.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So I was like, are we going to grow up?
Yep.
Or are we going to can it?
It was winning the heart of the wife. Huh?
I don't know if it's the heart. I think her passion is, for me, is she likes to see me get behind things and accomplish. And same for her. But there's boundaries to those things. And my stuff that I do usually tips those boundaries pretty well.
I think it's boys, right?
And she's got two. So like, I'm kind of preparing her for the inevitable here.
Yeah.
Right. Which is, we have two guys that just, they have separate attitudes, but one wants a motorcycle, one wants to race junior dragster.
Yep.
So I'm just preparing her. I'm pushing her tolerance, right?
Yep.
I think that's where we we were like, this is an unsafe environment for you to be in, and we had to sit down and really talk about the importance of how our family dynamic was, monetarily, their support systems, things like that, and how would that fall apart, and it just wasn't worth it, right?
Yeah. So TX2K was the first major outing, right? In a revamped, ready-to-go car from...
We'd done some tests. We did some tests.
Yeah, we did some testing. We did some small events.
We did.
More
we did streetcar.
Yep. So we did streetcar. We did a few others. But I guess on a magnitude of Street Outlaws.
Sure.
To TX2K.
Sure. I mean, it's a big following. It's a big event.
It's huge.
Right.
So your first debut was Street Outlaws as a driver, right? You bombed it.
I did.
Okay.
Dude. It's on the internet somewhere.
Yeah. I'm going to search it. We'll have Tori find that video.
I know
and put
she
it in
will,
here.
dude.
She's gonna find that video and put it in your first event that you bombed, and then you go to TX2K in a new car,
right,
with a lot more power.
Yeah.
A question: was the wife at Street Outlaws?
No.
Did the family show up?
No.
Did you have the kids? No.
No.
No. No. No. But they were there at this one.
Oh yeah. All
at TX2K.
Love it.
Did they love watching you go down? How was that?
The kids, they're fine. Andrea really likes to be at the track and film other cars. TX2K was the first time that she really felt safe about the car because she had seen what we had done, the investment we made in safety. She bought into you guys, because you're doing it.
Yeah.
You're not just preaching it, you're doing it.
Yep.
That made her open to watching me go down the track really fast because, in our pastime, I think the biggest thing that she saw was, I watched a lot of Street Outlaws. I really like that show and I hope it goes somewhere. But she saw a lot of wrecks on street racing, so she just automatically equated that, right?
Yep.
And not to mention, she was a little... she had some shell shock through my pilot training and some different things like that too. That's where so she was like, safety is a big
thing.
Big thing.
Yeah. So that was TX2K was your first full-on race event. How was all those eyeballs on you and the amount of pressure that you felt? Did it affect you? Did it anything? Was the fact that the wife and kids were there, if something goes wrong, they're going to be there to see it? Or was there more pressure from the crowd and all the socials?
None of the above. So I want to say, and I have to say this, and it's true. The way that things are set up, the way that we have things set up right now with your shop and the racers that we're racing with, I felt completely comfortable because I had other guys that was doing the same thing.
Okay.
It was cool. I got Casey, right?
Yep.
Got Mac, right? You got Bo,
yep.
Right? You got Tyler. All of them, right? Doing the same kind of thing. So I didn't feel crazy for the first time in my life.
Interesting.
I got to watch and pick brains. I'm a learner, man. So I'm always, hey, Bo, what are you doing on the light? That's a pretty good RT, man. Like, just watching that stuff. Yeah. And I didn't have a ton of pressure before him because I'm the slowest one in the group.
That took it to third place.
That's right. Consistency wins. Casey proves that.
Yeah. 2 consistent cars made it to the top, which is crazy.
Yeah.
That's cool. So you made your TX2K debut, Zilla 1320. All the eyes were watching. The little car that could came in third.
Yeah.
What are you going to do next? What is next for Zilla? What is next for Jake?
Well, I don't think it was next. We're on the way. So we're on the way. I like what you do with your cars, your personal, that demon. I like to be right at the forefront, but not at the forefront. I don't want to be the guy that, hey, Chris, you can do whatever you want to my car. Yeah. I want to see you do some crazy shit, and then I want to be right next.
Yeah.
Next, we want I know I do, and I think you have the same goal. Is I want to be the fastest, Hellcat platform, 4,000 pounds on an overdrive transmission.
Yeah.
And that's a pretty big class.
Yeah, it is. They're fast. The question that I have, man, it always starts like this, right? So the car first went 8.4s when we first took the fastest Demon.
Right.
Okay. Then it's like,
that's pretty fast, by the way.
That was
like
fast.
We're 8.53, and I think I'm a rocket ship.
Yeah, it was fast. And so then the question is, what if? What can it do?
No, not 7.
We're like, okay, well, let's see. Can it go in 8.3? Yeah, okay, that was kind of easy. Can it go in 8.2? Yeah, okay. Let's add nitrous.
Yeah.
Can it do an 8.1? Can it do 7.9s?
And you're there.
Yeah, and then that was a battle, right? That was the whole shell that we had.
Your consistency breaks down, right? Because you've gotten out of your comfort zone.
That target that you try to shoot, the faster you go, the smaller it gets.
Right.
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 So now we're 200 yards out trying to shoot it with a 9mm. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So it gets really hard. So when we finally hit the 7.9, then it's like, okay, now it's not always the question of what if, but now it's chasing that adrenaline of the 7.9. Right?
Who are we chasing that? So who are we chasing?
For me, it's myself.
Okay, well, who else was in the mix at that point?
That was competing for trying to get into.
There's some fast cars out there. I mean, Ripa's got some fast cars.
Yeah. So for me, there was another guy that had a Demon that we were going back and forth on, Jorge Duque. Mm-hmm. He had another Demon, and great guy. Mm-hmm. Great guy. I mean, awesome dude. And we were competing back and forth. He was a TH400 twin turbo car. I was 8-speed Maggie 2650. Right?
The one that started it all.
I show up at a knife to a gunfight.
Yeah, no, that's
right.
That's an accurate description.
So I had the smallest thing. So I'm competing for that, and it was just like going faster and faster. Well, they ran into some issues with the car, and that kind of went. And then it started going where I was the first Demon in the 7s, and then can we go faster and faster? Now it's like I don't want anybody to get close. So we're widening that gap. But it's the adrenaline of going that fast and pushing it that fast.
So it doesn't have anything to do with being the best.
The best is,
and that's a subjective term. Let me redefine that. The fastest.
Yeah, well, being the fastest, being the best is a byproduct of trying to push it.
Okay.
Right?
That's fair.
Because the entire approach to a car that needs to run 7 seconds is not the same approach to a car that needs to run 8.5s. Mm-hmm. Right?
Sure.
Or even a car that's going to run 9.0s, or even a car that's going to be a street. Right?
Mm-hmm. Plenty of those out there.
Yeah. So if the entire approach of building a car is completely different. Mm-hmm. So what I think it's done, the byproducts of that is it's made us better at our job. Mm-hmm. Because now our products that we use, the way we install, the way we do things, the way that we've seen how things wear and tear, now we can do preventative stuff to it to where, okay, we're going to make these changes because when we do an alignment on a car like this and it's constantly changing, when it changes, it's going to change correctly in the way that we want.
Because of the way it rides.
Right.
Yeah. How it's transferring weight.
Mm-hmm. So those things have made us better at what we do and better in a sense of anybody else or any other shop who bolts on but doesn't race.
Yeah. Okay? Been there.
Yeah. So the guys who do the racing teaches you a lot, right?
Yeah.
So it's like if you're going to go to the gun range and shoot a gun, or are you going to versus the guys that are in the military or do the different kind of gun training, the more in-depth competitive kind of gun training. You can't. Those guys are
Their
lethal,
heads and tails
right?
above, right?
So from the way that they pick the holsters to everything else, it's the same thing everywhere. So it transpires into racing.
Mm-hmm.
We don't install things in certain locations because when it does fail and something does happen,
They go boom.
it's not going to take everything else out.
Right.
Right. So if you break a drive shaft, it's not going to cut your water lines or
Come through the
floorboard or things like that. Right. Even placing the weight of things in certain locations to help the car transition. Right. Those things are things that you learn by going out to the track.
Mm-hmm.
But the everyday person would just throw it in there.
Sure. I mean, I think that's the culture, right?
Yep.
It started way, way, way back.
Yep.
They were just throwing stuff around.
So going faster has taught us that. So now the big question is, can an 8-speed go 7.5s? So I went 7.7 at 185.
We saw that.
Okay.
Yep.
So if you go 7.5, that's 200 mile an hour.
Sure.
Pushing 200 mile an hour.
At 4,000 pounds?
Yeah.
Or 4,200 pounds?
At so per TX2K rules, 4,000 pounds with twin turbos, 4,200 pounds if you're dual power adder, right? So per the TX2K stuff,
200 miles an hour on an 8-speed.
On an 8-speed. Can that happen?
I think so.
I think
it's with a little bit, and I think this is leading into something we can talk about in another series, or another one, but it boost control.
Absolutely.
It's a different ball game, right? We're not spraying, we're not progressively spraying and praying.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We're controlling through the cycle.
Yep.
And something that I'm uniquely interested in is being able to control that kind of stuff. And you guys have hammered out something that's incredible. That
we
is
got
in
some
beta.
pretty crazy stuff with it.
Right.
And the shop car can vouch for that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, an 8-speed at 185 mile an hour.
Cooking.
Which Z's gone faster. So Z's gone 7.6s at 183, 184 mile an hour. So, mile an hour wise, we're one of the fastest too. Okay. Which would be me and Z. Mm-hmm. The question that I go back to with Z and we kind of always bounce back and forth is, can it hit 200 mile an hour? And I'll tell you, that's going to be a whole nother thing that we're going to have to learn, because when I first hit 175 mile an hour, my front end and front bumper on the Challenger were falling apart because the air coming around it would separate the bumper and the headlight bezel because it would hit in that pocket where our headlights are.
Makes sense because the car is tilted at a different angle.
And when the air hits it, it pulls the bumper away from the headlight bezel.
Dodge trucks do that when you level them. The hood.
Yep.
Did your hood do that?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. My hood did that really bad. But, then we learned and we leaned into that. Now, Casey was doing 175 mile an hour.
Yep.
And now the Charger in the corner of the headlights, the air is pushing down on the bumper. So it's bending the plastic bezel on the lower piece of his headlight at 175. So we did a whole bunch of stuff on the Demon to reinforce that bumper and bring it up to make it tight, right? So that way, if we did go faster than the 180, 182 that I've been, that I wouldn't run my bumper over and wreck.
Yeah.
Right?
Or wreck somebody else, even more importantly. That's a dangerous area. There.
So if it's what we've learned now, only so many have been 180 plus mile an hour in the car, period. Right. So there's only 3, maybe 2. Me and Z have only been 180 mile an hour plus.
Right.
So learning that, now if you want to say, you did 200, I want to feel 200.
Yeah. No, there's none. Yeah.
Okay, that's great. But here we have to do all of this now because aerodynamically, the car just can't do it.
We didn't buy Hellcats because of the plastic.
Yeah.
We didn't buy Demons because of the plastic.
Yeah.
We bought them because of the drivetrain.
Yep.
So here we are meeting limitations.
Yep.
just on a stock car, which is really cool to say.
Yeah.
Because that's where pro mods were born, right?
Yep.
You start reshaping that stuff.
Yeah. So we start reshaping it all.
Right. And so here we are.
And that's where, when you look at the front of my car, you'll see things blocked off.
Because that's where the air is coming in.
Yeah.
Interesting. They did the same thing in the early Camaro, because that dam, a lot of guys took that dam off, the air dam on the front of it, on the what gen was that? Can't remember. Just before the Catfish Camaro.
Okay. Yeah.
There was that air dam. They were taking it off when they went to the track.
Yeah.
And they figured out that's how the air was feeding up into getting. Yeah.
Yep. So I was having air come in the Demon Scoop and try to pick the Demon Scoop up.
Yeah.
Right. So it would start picking the hood up.
Right.
And then when it would do that, it would pick the front end up, because now all the air is going up
that's
under.
how you get your front end to look all cool. And
so I do that.
Yeah.
So it would start to pick that up and start having a bunch of issues.
Yeah.
You know?
Trying to do Hemi under glass, right?
Yep. So it was cool. It was really cool.
That's
so
awesome.
That's where we transitioned into that. And I think the future of the car and the platform for us is going to be, can we hit 200 mile an hour?
Right. I mean, they provided the powertrain. It's kind of Baily's job to push it and see what we can actually do with it.
What are you going to do, though, with Zilla? What's your next move with Zilla? You keep dodging that question.
No, I don't. Because I already know, right? And a lot of it goes back to what you're doing, right?
Yeah.
Is I see where you're at with your setup. I know what's kicking around the shop there.
Yeah.
We know what you're doing with the Demon, right? Mm-hmm. You know the parts that I have and the commitments that I have. The motor that I want to put in Zilla is the motor that we can hit that 200 mile an hour.
Okay.
Right? And that means you have to spend a lot of money on internals.
Yep.
You have to spend a lot more money on safety, fire suppression, all those things.
Yep. It's a big expense.
It is. And, I called you the other day and we talked about it. I was like, does the cart, am I putting the cart before the horse, right?
Yeah.
And here's the cool thing about a turbo car. We can work our way up to that.
Sure can.
And if we really, and I can grab a scramble button and still compete.
Yep. Sure can. Absolutely. And you can lose weight.
Yep.
So
Wait, what?
Yeah, not you. The car can lose weight.
Okay. Yeah. She's fat. For sure. The car can lose weight. But I think that's where we do my focus is building a platform. Like, I'll tell you what, one of my favorite guys on the team, Casey, dude has an incredible motor that does incredible things every single time he turns it loose.
Yeah. Defies the odds, right?
Every time.
No nitrous, 812.
Think about it. Like, you're like, this car is going to run an 812.
Yeah. All the TX2K. Day, night.
Doesn't matter.
812.
Right.
On the dot.
Right. So the consistency and the time and the effort, and the money that he put into the motor is, I'm going to follow that pattern, but I'm also going to follow the pattern to where we can control what we do, because we're also on that bubble, right?
Yep.
You're moving bumpers and blocking off air dams.
Yep.
I got to see you do that a little bit.
Yeah.
Then that informs at the end of the track, I'm not blowing a hood off or doing something crazy like that.
Yep.
So that's where we want to be. And that, you're the shop. Y'all have the shop to do it, and you're already leading the way. So it's really easy.
So TX2K25,
right?
You're going to be out there?
Oh yeah, we'll be there. We'll be there. Now with what?
New outfit?
I don't know. I don't know. So that's the question to be seen. So the parts chain, the supply chain starting to come back up. I don't think it takes 28 weeks to get a Windberg crank anymore.
Nope.
So the goal is to have the motor built. My question is where, do we have the car in a posture to where it's going to be safe with that kind of motor in it? And when I say that kind of motor, it's not the kind of motor that anybody else has. Yeah. It's a big displacement.
Revolutionary.
Big motor.
Yeah.
I'm not dodging the question. I'm saying, is it going to be ready by then? Probably the motor is.
Yeah.
But is the car and what's the outfit?
Yeah.
We'll have to see.
Well, I'm super excited to see what you do at 25. I mean, for a first outing of TX2K to come up in third,
I'm addicted
make it
now.
all the way.
Well, I have no choice, right?
Yeah.
So it's second now.
Yeah.
So that means Z can't show up. You got a break, and it's me and Casey again.
Again.
With a new motor.
Well, as long as you don't catch a red light, you should be good.
You don't catch red lights, you create them.
Well, as long as you don't create a red light, you're good.
Right. So, yeah, and that I love when you bring that up, because there's 0.4 of a second's difference between our cars, right?
You got to get it on the tree.
I got to. I got to try, man.
Yeah, you got to try to make it up on the tree.
That's right, man.
It's a whole shot wins.
That's right.
Happen.
And I think that's the cool part too, is like, you learn the car, and when, weight transfer is a big thing, and how that car moves and what light I can guess on.
For sure. Well, we're super excited to see what you do at TX2K25.
You too, man.
Yeah, we'll see.
It's going to be awesome.
How it is. We'll see. If I can get it done. I got a lot of cars to build now.
Well, that's good.
But if I can get it done, it'd be awesome. We'll get it out. With all these and everything else, customers' cars always come first, right?
Right, sure.
So we'll see. We'll see how it does.
Cool.
But we're excited about you, TX2K25. We're going to end this on something with all of the years that you've been in business, your life, everything that you've experienced. Mm-hmm. What is one piece of advice you can give our audience, the guys that are inspiring, that you've inspired here, to follow the path of what you've done? What would be one piece of advice you would share?
Vision is everything. And if you can visualize it and convince yourself that it'll work, there's no stopping you.
That's awesome. I can believe in that too.
Yep. Because once you get the bug, man, there's no stopping you. And you'll know if you're that type of person. And I think that's what separates. I think dreams are good. There's a lot of action.
Mm-hmm.
So don't be scared.
Awesome.
Don't be scared to act on them.
Well, we're super excited. Episode 1 is going to be in the books.
Yes.
We're finished. We're done.
Who's next? Who knows?
Who knows? We'll get some guests on.
Yeah.
But this is it. This is Deep Stage.
Yeah.
This is who we are. I'm actually the host.
You're hosting this gig, dude.
Yeah. So
Tori's producing this gig. I'm just co-hosting.
So you're the co-host,
right?
Jay Curry.
And this will look a little bit different next time. I think we're going to have somebody else come in, and we'll be able to do some questions and do some answers and things like that.
We're excited.
Yeah.
We're excited. We'll see how it goes. If you guys are looking to join the podcast and tell us about your story from life that you've created all the way up into being involved in the racing scene, please click on the link below, fill out the application, submit it in. Me and Jay Curry are super excited about hearing some of your stories and talking about your paths of life that have led you to being the racer that you are today. So, thank you guys.